So, to help with my body, because I can't do physical therapy anymore, I'm doing Pilates. I think I mentioned this before. So it's for the core and for my back. That way, it just keeps it alive longer, as long as possible before I have to do a fusion surgery. Here's the thing about Pilates. It is female dominated. I have been the only man there in 3 months. Just me. So it's a lot of just them saying ladies and ladies, and they say ladies for everything, and sometimes they say ladies and gentlemen, and that's it. But here's the thing. I've decided to word it this way because I think it works. And that is, men have sacks, women have purses. Best way I'm going to put this. So, the thing about certain movements in Pilates, there's a lot of leg movements and like squeezing the legs together and doing certain moves with the legs. And it works out if you got a purse. It doesn't work out if you got a sack. So, they're like, all right, so do this movement, then do this movement, and then do this movement. So for them, it's just nothing. Nothing's going on there. For me, it is movement, squishing the sack to do a movement, squishing the sack again to do a movement, squishing the sack some more to do a movement. It is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. But that's what happens when you're a man in a female-dominated world called Pilates. Welcome back, friends. Vlog here with Kirby here. So first, let's talk about race. This is going to be an educational episode because I have a job interview coming up, so I'm going to go over that in this vlog for fun. But first, let's talk about race really quick because it's interesting. So I talk about my hair with a black woman. She's like, "Oh, you got black hair." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, good." And so we talk about our hair, and she recommended a bunch of hair care products and all these things. So now I have a lot of black products for my hair, and things like that, and just a lot of advice that she had. Because she's got some nice hair, and we have similar hair. It's just, I'm a dude, so I don't take care of as much, but I'm gonna try to take care of it more, so it should look better. But then talking to my white friends about it, I was like, I was talking about that. We're like, yeah, she's like, "Oh, you got black hair." And my white friend was like, "Oh, you mean curly and frizzy, like more." She was just trying to be more technical about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. It's interesting talking about race with minorities and talking about race with white people. And it's just interesting to talk about the same subject and how one side, they don't even, there is no thinking about what they're saying. And then white people's like, they have to think like, okay, how about I word it this way? Very fun. I'm on an improv team called Asian Invasion. And so we're very racial in our humor. And the thing is, improv usually is very boring, not necessarily, but middle of the road is the best way to put it. It's fun, but it's middle of the road. And so everyone's used to not really pushing into race while we do. And it's very interesting there. To the point that it's offended some white people, which I find hilarious. They're offended that we're pushing into stereotypes and things like that. It's like, the truth of the matter is stereotypes are a thing. Some are hurtful, some are not. But there's a grain of truth in a lot of these. And so we push into the stereotypes that I have seen in my family, and they've seen in their families. And it's just a lot of fun. But apparently it makes white people uncomfortable, which kind of is hilarious. That it makes white people uncomfortable. So I enjoy that. But they were just talking about how, because I was talking about my white friends in improv, because there's a lot of white people in improv. And like, if I want, I can get on a lot of teams, because they have to. This is the thing that is messed up, but advantageous at the same time is, because improv is so white dominated, they need a token something. Which I find hilarious. I find that hilarious because that's messed up. It's like, yeah, we want to be inclusive. So we need to find these minorities so we have one on our team. It's like, you could just let it be, and when it happens, but no. It's just too funny to me. Because they were just talking about that, and it's like, hey, what if we make a white team? And then one person was like, what do we call it? It's like, one said power, one said pride. I'm like, you guys could call it privilege. Like, that's pretty simple. But I noticed how they were all P words. I just find it so interesting, the different sides of the fence there when it comes to race. And it's just funny to me. It just is. I have not necessarily been a victim of racism necessarily. Okay, I've been a victim of the quiet kind of racism for the most part, where you don't realize it until you realize it, which is not great. But to be honest, like, there's an interesting thought that implants in California have brought up is that California does have has more of a like subtle racism to it that you don't really realize, and it's just because of how it's not the it's more of the look at these poor minorities mindset without realizing that's messed up kind of thing. And just there's a judgmentality in California for sure that's different from other places. Because a lot of implants tell me it's like, yeah, like when I was just back in like Ohio or Atlanta or whatever, they're like, yeah, like they got along with plenty of people and everything like that, but here in California, people are a little weird about race sometimes. Like, I don't know what to tell you on that one. Also, they were saying like just with dates in general, like they were just getting lots of dates out there. Here in California, they ain't getting nothing. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, apparently I should go to other states. Um, race, so fun to talk about. Where was I going with things? Racism is bad. Racism is bad, but also can be not racism is hilarious, but racial differences. Now, here's the thing. This is the issue. This is the real issue here. The real issue here is there's a difference between talking about race and being racist, and talking about genuinely the difference between races, the difference between culture, and just talking about those things openly and being racist or just having fun. Like comedy is a good way to talk about racial issues and having fun. And it's great. It's a couple of people are going to get, I'm going to say butthurt over it. But, oh, random thing is hearing my 50-year-old aunt call my 50-year-old, well, they're 60 now, 60-year-old aunt call my 60-year-old uncle butthurt. Like, oh my God, that's entered her lexicon, which is hilarious. That's why I used it just now. I'm like, oh my God, my aunt says that. Why is butthurt the thing? Oh, it's because you stick up someone's ass. That's the reason. That's the reason I'm going to go with why that's a thing. Because the whole thing, like, people have a stick up their ass. They're just, what's the word here? Too, not surrealist, they're just too, like, rigid. They're too rigid. They don't have fun. That's the idea there. That's why I was going to, look at, let's going back in entomology in things. So, butthurt, I think, comes from someone having a stick up their ass. Stick up their ass is because someone's too rigid to adapt or change to things. And just that thought right there is they're like, yeah, someone's just rigid. They don't have a sense of humor. I think that's where it all comes from. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. Right there. I'm getting better at this Kirby movement. Okay, so channel stuff. I'm on swing now, so the streams are not when they usually are, at least not for certain days. So it's going to be a little more chaotic there. It's easier to just watch the recorded version, but I'm just such a... I made that complaint 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah, we didn't have a stream last week because everyone was busy. 2 weeks ago I made a complaint like, I just don't have any time. I'm too busy working on these things. I'm working on the Kirby light novel now. I was like, I'll spend like an hour a day, do a chapter a day of that light novel. These chapters taking 3 hours to write. Oh my God. Reading it's just like... It's a breeze, because I'm writing it and reacting to it and all this stuff. It takes longer. It's crazy. I spent like 2 hours just prepping for the light novel, because doing all the background reading and things like that. Things just take longer than you realize. That's just life there. And so I've just had less time on streams, because I'm putting in more time to exercise and figure out dieting for my body. So that takes even more time away from working on the channel and on streaming. As that's unfortunate. Anyone who was a fan of the streams, everyone's gone now. I don't think I have anyone left anymore. At least live, because I just don't stream consistently enough. Anyone who watches us now watches us way, like, in the recorded parts of the Twitch. Or, like, you know, the ones they archive. And so I'll see, like, a couple dozen people watch our stuff later, which is interesting. Alright, let's spend 10 minutes talking about water a moment. So, I'm interviewing for the supervisor position for Pure Water. Now, here's the thing about the supervisor position. Not necessarily do you need to know the process, you just need to know how to order chemicals for the process. But you should still know the process in case an emergency happens, because it's going to be you figuring it out until the next level goes. So, in water, And in a lot of jobs, there's the thing called the chain of command. What happens is you're on the ground level. Like for me, an operator, I'm on the ground level. I'm watching the plant. Something pops. Something goes horribly wrong. I'm like, oh crap, I'm not really sure what's the issue here. Or some regulatory thing happens. And I'm dealing with what I can at my level. Then I call the level above me, which is a supervisor, and I tell them, here's what's up, here's what I'm doing, here's the solution I'm come up with. I can't think of anything. What do you think? And then they'll do the same thing. They're like, okay, what can we do here? They'll give me orders, and then they'll go up the chain to the senior supervisor, and he'll do his level stuff, and the senior supervisor goes up to superintendent, and the superintendent will go through his stuff, and the superintendent will go up to the assistant deputy director, and then they'll go up to the deputy director, and then go to the assistant director, and then they'll go to the director, and then the director reports to the mayor. That's what happens if it needs to go that far. Eventually, like, it'll stop somewhere up the chain, and then trickle back down, and then we're done. Something major happens, like Flint, Michigan, that goes all the way up to the mayor, maybe even to Congress, and then goes all the way back down. Flint, Michigan, on the other, by the way, is criminal, and more people should have gone to jail. More people. Actually, no one went to jail. Everyone should have gone to jail. Like, the operators and the supervisors and everyone attached to that water plant, it should have been, we're going to try our best to make this work, but we need to keep receipts here and just let the people know what's going on here. Also, people should have just quit and protest also. That's the other thing, which is hard to do. Like, quitting and protest is very hard to do. But you know what quitting protest does? Makes you not go to jail. Those people should have gone to jail. I can't believe they didn't. So many people should have gone to jail. They should have been fined. Well, there were fines, but so much money should have been lost. Flint, Michigan, as much as it would hurt the city themselves, their city should have been fined harsh. Very harshly. Their state should have been fined harshly for that in general. Should not have allowed that to happen. So, pure water, for a supervisor, it's you need to know how the plant works and how to troubleshoot the plant if you need to necessarily. But your main job is to manage. Your main job is three things. Your main job is to buy chemicals so the plant keeps working. Your main job is to keep your people equipped, so you're getting like uniforms and lab supplies besides chemicals. Well, lab supplies are chemicals too, but you know, like gloves and glassware, things like that. I'm getting better at this. Look at that. And then the third thing is, well, personnel. So your job is to keep the place stocked. Stocked with chemicals, stocked with supplies, and stocked with people. So you make sure people are scheduled, that overtimes are scheduled for whatever reason, people are covering shifts. That's your job. It's the person's responsibility to have their shifts covered, but if they drop the ball, you got to make sure somebody's there, or else you have to be there. Oh, or you force the last guy to be there, which is unfortunate. That's the thing about my job is, because it's a 24/7 thing, water is 24/7. If you can't make it, someone has to be in there. And if no one can get in that spot, the person who's already there is stuck there. That's what happens in that job, because you can't leave the water unattended. You just can't. Obviously, legally, morally, like, no, don't leave the water unattended. So let's talk about pure water. So pure water in San Diego does 5 processes. If you don't know what pure water is you take the toilet water and you take all the poop and other stuff out of it, and it becomes reclaimed water, and then pure water turns reclaimed water into pure water. It does a huge process to make it extra, extra, extra clean. So let's start with poop. So you poop, you flush it, and it goes to a waste plant. At the waste plant, it is, well, it's full of poop and other things in there. And we use bacteria, we use what we call bugs, which is bacteria, and it eats a lot of the stuff out of it. And then we make it cleaner and less poopy and just better. And then you make it where nature can handle it. And what happens is all the states along the Colorado treatment, around Colorado, dump their poop, like their cleaned up poop water, back into the river. So the truth of the matter is, everyone who utilizes the Colorado River and the Mississippi River, by the way, are already reclaiming poop water. So keep that in mind, guys. All right, so this is not only an American thing. This is what other countries do too. All around the world, if you take your water from a river, the people up the river are pooping into your river. But it's cleaned up. before it gets put back into the water. It's just not. It's not just not. I wouldn't drink river water, is what I'm telling you guys. So it gets to a better position, and then Reclaim goes and cleans it up more and hits it with a ton of chlorine. And that's what is like the purple pipes, which you see in certain states, where you're able to utilize this not drinkable water, but plants can absorb it water. It's still dirty, but plants will take it, and then plants will do what they need to do with it. So it becomes this kind of water. This water goes to a pure water plant, and a pure water plant hits it with 5 things to beat the crap out of this water. So the first thing that happens is you hit the water with ozone. Ozone is 0.3. So the way it's made is you use electricity to break O2, oxygen, and it breaks apart, and these separate O's connect to other O2s to make O3, ozone. That's the ozone layer. Ozone attacks everything. It is vicious. It just beats everything up. The Invincible Candy Kirby, that's what it is. Ozone is that. It just wrecks everything. Wrecks everybody's ass. That's what it does. And so, whatever condition the water is from Reclaim gets the crap beat out of it by ozone. Just beats it up. Breaks it up, and just whatever survives goes to the next level. The next level is, oh, by the way, when you do ozone, obviously ozone is not great to breathe or anything. So ozone is supplied using liquid oxygen is one way, or you just generate oxygen. So we use liquid oxygen. That's why no one's allowed to smoke at a pure water plant, because of liquid oxygen. That's pure oxygen. You smoke, you explode, you die. That's on you. So liquid oxygen becomes pure oxygen. That's what becomes O3. And then we use a thing to absorb the rest of the ozone later on, so that there's just no more ozone. So we don't have to worry about ozone into the atmosphere, because you're not supposed to have ozone go into the atmosphere. It's dangerous. All right, so next level is BAC, biologically activated carbon. So in regular treatment plants, you have the water going through a filter of like activated carbon, it's charcoal and sand and things like that, and it just goes through, and it takes more crap out of the water. In this case, it's doing that, but you do it to the point where if it gets dirty enough, a regular plant will clean the filter. Here, you don't clean the filter. You let it get dirty so that bacteria grows on it, and the bacteria eats whatever other stuff is in the water. Whatever survived ozone now gets eaten. It gets devoured by bacteria. That's biologically activated carbon. That's what happens. That's the second step. And so there's steps that are done to maintain and keep it alive. And you put in like a little bit of chlorine to whenever there's just too much bug growth, too much bacterial growth, so that it doesn't get out of hand and that doesn't cause any trouble. That's the second stage. The third stage is ultrafiltration, nanofiltration. So, or microfiltration, ultrafiltration is the best way to put it. MF, UF. So now we use these filters, which are like little straws, is the best way to put it. They're like, okay, they're straws with holes in it. You know, if you had a hole in your straw and you try to drink through it, you'll get the drink, but some of it's just not going through. It's coming back out through that hole in the straw. That's what's happening. What's happening is, think of it this way, is you got the water going through the straw, but the water going through that hole, that's the clean water coming out. Because all the other crap's getting stuck in there while the clean stuff's coming out. That's what's going on there. But it's there's 2 ways to do it. One is you either put the water in the straw and you have a bunch of micro holes in it, and the clean water comes out of it. Or you do the other way where everything's outside and it goes into the straw. But it's the same idea, just there's different ideas to do it because of the way the cleaning process is. But that's what's going on there. That's ultrafiltration. And at this point, it's just using power to squeeze stuff through. And this is just a screening process for the 4th step, which is reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is a process of having things go through little things. Like, it's another filtering process where you have this sheet, this membrane sheet. It's just a sheet, and there's really small holes in there, and only the littlest things get through. So H2O gets through, and the smallest viruses get through. Only the littlest things get through. Like only like salts, like little salts get through. This is why there's a plant called the Poseidon plant in Carlsbad where all they do is nanofiltration and reverse osmosis. That's all they do because they're squeezing ocean water through these little things to the point that only H2O, and because H is very small and O is very small, where it can only fit those little things and anything that's smaller than that, which is like small amounts of like viruses. Because there can be a little bit of virus coming through, and whatever other crap that got broken apart, there's still a little bit left after these 4 steps. So there's one more step. By the way, Carlsbad, they suck in 500 million gallons of seawater and produce, out of all that filtering, 50 million gallons of drinking pure water. The other 450 gets spit right back out into the ocean. And it's saltier because all the salt got sucked out of that 50 mil to make that 50 mil. So that's what happens. So they always monitor the ocean, make sure that despite making it saltier, it's not destroying the ocean kind of thing. So the 5th step is hydrogen peroxide and UV light. And the idea here is, I can't remember the exact, it's making free radicals. Hydrogen peroxide makes free radicals because it's mixed with, I think, chlorine. And these free radicals are just as aggressive as ozone. So whatever's still alive, whatever's still left there, gets the crap beat out of it again. If you survived the first 4, you ain't surviving that 5th wave. Because after all that, even if you survive, there's UV light. UV light is dangerous to living things. What does it do? It sterilizes living things. So even if you drank in viruses, if UV light was introduced to it, the viruses can't do anything to you. Because the point of a virus is to infect a cell and reproduce. If it's sterile, it'll infect a cell and do nothing. That's the idea behind UV light. And so, yeah, you are beating the crap out of something, and then you're having it eaten, and then you're forcing it through small holes, and forcing it through smaller holes, and then beat the crap out of it again if it somehow survived all of that. And then, when that's all done, for pure water here, there's direct supply and indirect supply. And we're doing indirect supply for this plant. And what it means is it goes into a reservoir, just a lake, not a lake, a reservoir. What's it? It's a giant pond, lake. Lake. It goes into a lake. Rivers are run, lakes just sit. Okay, so yeah. So it goes into a lake. They're going to pump 30 million gallons of pure water into a lake. And that water is going to mix with regular water and become less pure. The thing is, pure water rises to the top. It's like cream, rises to the top. And when it rises to the top, it doesn't mix. So it has to just be forced to mix so that we get regular water. Here's the thing about pure water. You don't drink pure water. Pure water likes to be dirty. So if you drink pure water, Bill Gates is drunk it to show it, but that was a mistake because you shouldn't drink pure water. Pure water will pull the nutrients out of your body to dirty itself. So don't drink pure water. Drink regular, clean water. So that's the thing. So this pure water goes into the reservoir, and then there, a regular water treatment plant will pull that out of the lake and treat it normally, which will dirty it up, but also clean it up, and then you can drink it for human consumption. So all of that happens. All of this stuff happens to that water. So you can be, it's perfectly fine to drink this. At one point was poop water, because the truth of the matter is, water has been on this planet for bajillions of years. Every drop of water that has existed on Earth has been poop at some point. At some point. It's all been poop. It's all been pee. It's all been a thing. This is the thing, if you want to get metaphysical about it, is atoms have been all over the place. Atoms have been everywhere. The many atoms that make up our body were made up of other things at some point. We're making up other things at some point. Let's say everything was Legos. Let's say atoms are Legos. Your whole body's made up of Legos. You're flaking skin all the time. You're flaking hair all the time. You're pooping. You're eating. Things are going in. Things are going out. Everything's made of atoms. So atoms are going into you. Atoms are coming out of you. That's constantly happening. Your atoms are regenerating, breaking down, so on and so forth. Atoms are getting spread everywhere at all times. So atoms have been everything. Every drop of water has been something. And so, yeah, all water has been poop water. All water has been pee water. All water has been many things. And so the pure water process does a lot. Poop water, reclaimed water, pure water, regular drinking water. That is what's going on. And so, just going over that again right now in my head, and teaching you all about it too, so that I'm good for the interview. When I got feedback on the last supervisor interview was, I think too much like an operator, not enough like a supervisor. I'm like, well, I am an operator. What am I supposed to do? But it's basically just think about leading instead of being led, I guess. But we'll see how this one goes. I already know who they're going to choose. This is more practice for future interviews, because the guy they're going to pick is literally writing the test for the state exams, the final state exams, the level 5s. I'm up against that guy. He's getting that job. He's getting that job. Like, you don't not hire that guy. It's like, oh, this is like, you work in like a factory thing, and you need someone who's really good at riveting or something. It's like, well, what about if you hired the guy who writes the certification tests for riveting? Like, that's basically what this guy is. So yeah, I'm not winning that, but I'm at least getting practice. I also get 2 hours of overtime for doing this interview, so that works. If you work in the city, you get paid for going to interviews because it's city business. It's nice. I like that. So I'm getting $100 for interviewing. That's great. And then I go to work right after, so I'm going to look nice for work. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. That's only for working city. Obviously, if you don't work for the city, you're not getting paid to interview. That's not how it works. Because it's considered a meeting, a city meeting, because it is. It's between a bunch of city employees. So there you go. And it's city business. It makes perfect sense to me on the board. That's it. For more specifics, ozone is there's a big set of generators. They got to be cleaned on occasion. They're supplied by oxygen. There's a catalyst that eats up the leftover ozone. There you go with that. There's a lot of just making sure all that stuff works. Biologically activated carbon, you make sure there's no more ozone, because if there's any ozone, it'll destroy your bugs, and that would be bad. It's just making sure there's plenty of bugs, but not too many, not too little. It takes months to feed these guys and make them grow again. So if something goes wrong, it's disastrous. And just making sure that material is good and cleaning it when you need to. The next step, when it comes to the filters, the ultra filters, nano filters, the reverse osmosis, it is just protecting them from the earlier steps, making sure they're good, and if there's damage to them, fixing them or just completely replacing them. They're like big ol' spaghetti noodles. There's a better way to put it than straws, but straws is just an easier analogy, I think. Because straws you suck through, you don't suck through a noodle. Teehee. There's one kind you do, but teehee. And so it's just maintaining those materials and those membranes and winding them correctly and backwashing them correctly. Oh, clean in place. So they're cleaned up because things get stuck to the surface. You clean them using high acid and then not high acid, strong acids and strong bases. That's a better way to put it. The acids destroy one group, and then bases destroy another group. And you do one, then the other. You don't do it in the other order. I should double check which one's which. You either do base first, then acid, or acid first, then base. Because it's one destroys inorganics, one destroys organics. So do you want to destroy your inorganics first, then the organics, or organics and inorganics? I think you do organics first, and then inorganics, because all dead organics become inorganics. So I think that's the order you do there. And then with hydrogen peroxide and UV lights, it's just maintaining the lights, keeping the right voltage, making sure their sleeves are not damaged. So the lights are in quartz. So you just make sure the quartz is fine, you make sure the lights are fine, replace the lights when they need to be replaced kind of thing. Or I would order the lights, basically, or I'd order the sleeves. And then hydrogen peroxide, just make sure that's just supplying the right amount of chemical and things like that, and just repairs and monitoring, things like that. So that's everything. And then, oh, right. So when this is all done, hydrogen peroxide makes it a very acidic water. So they hit it with lime or caustic soda or soda ash, one of these different basic things, to make the water less corrosive, and then it goes to the river, or goes to the lake. The reason for this is corrosive water eats pipes, and eats pipes causes lead and copper issues. That is the Flint, Michigan issue. The Flint, Michigan issue was the water was too corrosive and it was dangerous. Pure water makes the water corrosive. So the final step is to hit it with a lot of basic stuff so the water is not corrosive anymore. That's all they needed to do in Flint, was hit that water with a bunch of caustic soda. Hit that water with a bunch of lime, or burnt ash, or soda ash. One of those things, and they didn't do that. Or if they did, they didn't do it enough. Last time, reiterate, Flint, Michigan was, they switched from one lake to another, or one river to another, one source of water to another, to save money, but that other river, or source of water, was more corrosive. And they were warned that it would destroy pipes. And I can only guess the treatment plant could not handle that, but it happened anyway because politicians wanted to do it. It was like, we're saving money. Here's the thing. If you're saving money, put in the time to figure out if you really are. Because Flint has spent so much money having to recover from that issue. They would have to be on that cheaper water. Like, the money they would have saved for that, it would take like hundreds of years to make up for all the money they spent to have to fix the problem they did. So that's the thing is, if someone's like, let's switch this other water, well, there's going to be some issues with it. Anybody needs to put in the work and explain financially why that's a bad idea. Because it should be like, okay, we're going to go corrosive. All right, here's how much it's going to cost, how much caustic soda we're going to need to make that water okay. I don't know if anyone did that. If they did and it fell on deaf ears, they should have just freaking resigned before they got in trouble. And if no one did that, because that's a possibility, freaking A. But if that happened here, in San Diego, that's the thing. That's the route I would take. Like, we're going to switch this more corrosive water. Like, okay, well, we're going to have to use like soda ash or caustic. We're going to have to use something to basic up that water. How much is it going to cost? How much are we going to need? Is it going to be worth switching? Because if we don't actually save money, then what's the point? Here's the thing. A lot of government entities will do the lowest bidder and the cheapest thing to save money, but it isn't always the best idea. And it's been like that for like 50, 60 years. And finally, with the new generation, people are starting to wake up and be like, no, we don't do the lowest bidder. We do the lowest bidder that is competent, not just the lowest bidder. Like, we need some more quality control in the low bidders. And so it's not going to be just not going to be last guy, it's going to be a couple levels up. And that's better. And I talked a lot. So this was an educational episode. If you got through the racial stuff, you learned about water. That's it. I wish I had a water Kirby for this moment right here. But that's it for the vlog. I had fun. Hope you're fun watching. That's what's all about. Having fun. Thanks for buying. See you next time. And, yeah. Get hydrated, bitches. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Yeah. Let's do it again. Hydration. Get hydrated. Do it. Bye. There we go. This is bye.